What? Okay. Hello,
No,
ladies and
no.
gentlemen. Welcome again to the
We
quiet, Mike.
talk
Welcome
until
again.
I get tired.
Hey,
And then
we
I have
have a guest. Be nice. Welcome again to the View from Here, Behind Enemy Lines. We are speaking to John Moran, who is the head of GOUSA and who has developed a. I'm going to let him explain it to you. John Paul, please explain what it is that your OPPSCORE does.
Great. Well, thanks guys for what you do, and love your show. And so I ran for Congress. I was crazy enough to run for Congress in 2020 in the bluest state in the country, but the state that started it all. So I still believe we can make Massachusetts America again, in Massachusetts. And I ran for Congress, and I realized that there's a real big, huge problem in politics in America beyond insane. I'm a business guy. I've run businesses and marketing and surfing and technology. I have this crazy background in business. And I said, I'm going to run for Congress because these scumbags keep screwing us. So I ran against a guy named Seth Moulton. Have you ever heard of the name Seth Moulton?
Seth who? Holden?
Seth
No.
Moulton. He's in the news sometimes. He ran for president in 2020, and he's a complete loser. Anyway, he's a loser.
He's a Massachusetts Democrat. Of course, he's a loser.
Of course, he's a Marxist. Yeah. He's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I said, we have to do something. I decided I'd run. I knew I had basically almost zero chance in the middle of COVID, but I said we have to stand up. So I ran against this guy. I'm at MIT. I worked at MIT as a scientist for a while, and I've got this business background. So I've got a very analytical way of looking at things, and also common sense. And I ran and I said, 80 to 90% of people I met everywhere while he was hanging out in Joe Biden's basement doing I don't know what. I'm not gonna go there right now. He was doing something in Joe Biden's basement for a long time, afraid to debate me, would not come out. It was Joe Biden's creepy closet. And I said, you know what? How do I lose a race? Because I lost, blue Massachusetts, go figure, right?
Right.
But you know what? Something's not right because on the issues over and over and over again, I beat this guy on every issue, economy, borders, crime, you name it. I went through all the issues, and you know what? I beat him on everything. And now the market economy would say, well, you'd win if you had a store or a product that 80, 90% of people wanted versus your competitor on all of the features, you'd win, and the other guy would go out of business. So I lost the race, and the very next day I said, okay, first of all, that election was completely screwed up. Number one, 2020. But it's number two, I know that people still vote against themselves all the time because they put their blue hat on, or maybe sometimes their red hat on, but usually it's the people that put the blue hat on. They said, I'm voting Democrat no matter what because I was born a Democrat, blah, 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 blah. They're the good guys. And they vote for them even though they're voting against their own self-interest. So I work with two other MIT guys in blue Massachusetts, in Cambridge, right? Like
yeah.
That's as bad as it gets for the left wing.
Navy blue.
Yeah, it is Berkeley, California on the East Coast. But MIT, actually, there are some smart conservatives. So I worked with a couple guys that I was friends with. I said, how do we crack this nut? So we invented something called the OPPSCORE, like a Rotten Tomatoes or Yelp. Because don't you guys agree there's not really a good Yelp or Rotten Tomatoes or rating system that people can go to say whether they're getting screwed or not by their politicians? There's not really a good nonpartisan go-to app.
They're in specialized nooks, maybe, like, for example, the NRA ratings and so on and so forth.
Yeah, there's a lot of specialized ratings. And then that's the problem with them is that they're generally very on their face biased, but also they're just one issue. They're limited where they're, CPAC has ratings, but who in the middle or the left is going to listen to a hard right CPAC rating? They're not going to listen to it. So, and vice versa. They have the left wing has their crazy progressive ratings, and no one else is going to listen to them except their own choir listening to. So we came up with this idea of the opportunity score because there's one thing that we can all agree on. I mean, we can't all agree on anything in America, but the majority can agree that we're the land of opportunity, and that's what makes America America. The American dream, right? You guys agree the American dream is pretty much why we're here? Like, without that, why are we here? We're not just like a country, just like other countries just happen to be there for 1,000 years and named ourselves. we came here because we came for freedom and liberty and opportunity. So we came up with this idea of, well, why don't we just look at where people stand on the issues? Where do they stand on the issues versus the Constitution? And where do these people stand on the issues versus the will of the people? Because I think one thing you could generally get most people to agree on, like the vast majority agree on, that there's that when you the two jobs that define a federal politician, especially in the federal level, but I would say anywhere in America, but sticking with the federal right now, you swear on the Constitution. Isn't that the table stakes? That's the ground rules, right? You can't go against the Constitution you swear on. Number one. Number two, as long as it's constitutional, shouldn't you do what the people want? With maybe a few limited exceptions. On the big issues, if 90% of people want voter ID and 85% want school choice, and most people want low taxes, and the vast majority, and 79% of people want police protecting them, wouldn't you say that that's their job if they're hired by the people to work for them?
Of course, but the Democrats are notorious for going against whatever is constitutional.
See, my biggest problem is that
That's how we invented a system to basically rate them on those issues, which can't be called partisan. We're nonpartisan nonprofit, and we're not partisan. We're just common sense, and we're saying where do the people stand? We have plenty of data on that, and where does the Constitution stand? We have a written document on that. That's how we rate people. That's the idea. The genesis of the OPPSCORE is getting people to be held account on the issues and get people to stop voting stupid on colors, red or blue, or maybe yellow or green, but maybe they will vote on actually issues like they're buying a car or a bicycle or a pair of shoes or going to see a movie. They'll spend hours researching all the features before they buy a car, before they spend $25 on the movie, they're going to look at everything, they read reviews. Well, we're saying before you do the most important job in America, which is voting, how about you take 5 minutes and look at the issues on a simple, easy to use app that just says, here's where they stand, and here's where you stand. Vote for yourself. Don't be stupid. That's what we invented.
I have a question, but before that, Mike had something he wanted to say.
Mike, please go ahead. I just wanted to finish up what that was. Mike, what's your thoughts?
Well, the thing is that idealism can sometimes lead us to believe that these platitudes are actually embedded in the system that we're talking about. And the thing is that although I agree in your view, I don't necessarily believe that it is an avenue that's going to get people that are heavily indoctrinated to even consider you. As a matter of fact, because of the fact that you are right-leaning, okay, you're immediately what they like to call adjacent. You're adjacent to pro-Trump, therefore you're bad. I mean, it's become
fascist.
Well, the problem is that we're not dealing with people that are resolving issues cognitively. We're dealing with people that are emotionally driven, and so they're cultist, in nature. So, I think it's wonderful for the idea to create a non-biased platform for people to converse. I thought that's the reason why Elon Musk freed X, and I think that what you're doing appeals to me. And I hope that when you approach the outside world, that you understand you're dealing with people that are heavily indoctrinated, and they're probably going to mistrust you from the get-go.
Yes, well, I could say a few things. So first of all, you're right about the heavily indoctrinated people. The good news is that we spent, you got to figure data people. We spent a lot of time. We reached almost 1 million voters in the last election in
Wow.
790,000 voters in 20. We targeted the 45 most important races in the Congress and the Senate. We put dollars behind them and reached almost 1 million people. And before that, we actually tested Wisconsin, where we reached thousands of people in a scientific poll, asking them 36 pointed questions on all the issues that are in the OPPSCORE that we rate politicians on. By the way, we rated every member of Congress and all their challengers manually, 36 questions times 535 times 2. So that's about 40,000 data points we had to look at manually.
Right.
So that's a lot of work we did, me and my volunteer team. But to rate these people on these issues according to the standards I just laid out, the opportunity standards, which aren't partisan. When we did that, we asked people, you're right, people on the far left, which, by the way, you're going to be happy to hear some great statistics. Your audience will probably like to hear this, is there's an impression that there's this huge group of leftists that are emotionally driven, that are crazy, that are like 49% of the country, and we're like 51, and we're on the very fringe. And there's this battle of insane leftists and rational, Americans that are like 49, 51. But that's made up. And now that we know from Elon Musk, and how the money trail is going, how the hundreds of billions of dollars are being funded from our government to NGOs to support radical Democrats, and they've got the media, and they've got it's smoke screens. The reality is that on the issues, and we can prove it with statistical certainty. This isn't like guesswork. We polled, we used scientific poll. We hired a company called Gravis Marketing that did a poll that we reached thousands of people. We got over 500 people to finish this long survey, and of the data, 67% of a very right down the middle, red and blue state. And actually, the numbers are reflected and backed up by our national work, where we reached 1 million people. 2/3, about 67%, strongly aligned with America First values.
Nice.
13% aligned with where all the Democrats stand in Congress today. All the Democrats, where they land on the issues, they've got 13% support. AOC, Elizabeth Warren, and Joe Biden, as Kamala would say, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. Okay, those people that in their far left positions, guess what percentage support they have on the issues? Now, we have statistical certainty. This is not a guesswork. All the top issues, Pew Research, Rasmussen, Gallup, we know where the people stand. We know what the Constitution says. This is done very scientifically. It's bulletproof. That being said, what percentage of people do you think stand with them on the issues?
26%.
I would say 25% or so, because that's what Scott Adams continuously, almost continuously proves, that no matter what, 25% of people are going to cling to this belief, even if it's extremely unbelievable.
So you may be right about there's a certain percentage that will vote a certain way, but when you take away what we do is we peel back and we say these are the issues: school choice, lower taxes, rooting out corruption in government, healthcare, abortion, right, gun rights. And MAGA does lose on a couple points out of 36. There's 3 or 4 that maybe healthcare and some other areas that they're pretty close. Okay, on all the issues is added together the way we did it scientifically, 13% support the Democrats that are sitting in Congress on the issues.
I would have said 10 or under.
13%. No, I'm talking about all the Democrats in Congress except for 2 or 3 that crossed over to a point. Okay, 1%.
Oh, you're talking about the congressional Democrats.
Congressional Democrats, where they
I thought you were talking about nationwide.
Nationally, and 1%. That's reflective of the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, a whole 535 members of Congress, they are the Democrat Party. Okay, on the issues, that's where they stand on their voting records and everything. We have proof where they stand. When the people say, okay, people, what we do is we had people take the test. So when I say people took the test themselves, and then they did like a dating game, like they matched up. Who are you going to date? You're going to match up to the person. You're going to go to the person you match up to. So when we did that on the issues, 67% line up with America First, 13% line up with Democrats. The far right Republicans that are considered like the most MAGA have 40%. The most left wing have 1%. 1%. 5 Democrats out of the 5 or 6 Democrats out of the, or 5 or 6 out of 100 or so that were polled in this poll of the Democrats aligned with the Democrat part, with the most far left. So when you hear AOC yapping and talking and Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden and all, they only have. So think about that. How are we a representative republic when those numbers, and we can prove scientifically, we've proven that they have virtually no support. So the only way that they can be in power is manipulation, heavy funding from our own government, shaming people that don't agree. This is what we're dealing with. So on the issues, we put this out there, and we have data back from the midterms. I mean, not the midterms. I mean, the midterms are coming up from the last election. From the last election, the people that actually took the test and lined up, of those people, over 60% of Democrats changed, and they chose. They said if the election was today, you put your zip code in. They got their senator, their representative choices. Okay, they are choices for Senate, choices for House, and the choices for president. Down the line, they got a ballot. That's how we figured it out. They said, okay, take the test, line yourself up, and now who do you support? Of those numbers, 83% of independents, 83% of independents, virtually 100% of course, all Republicans, and over 60, I think the number was 64% of Democrats chose Republicans. So when you take off the bullshit and you line up on the issues, we get 85% on average, 85% in Wisconsin. And then we did our poll, reaching almost 1 million people, 85% woke up. So you're not
Right.
going to get those 15%. Don't worry about that because we don't need to worry about 15%. They can scream at the sky all day long. I don't care because you need 51% to win. But actually, Trump should have won on the issues. According to our numbers, he had the support of 85% of the public. So when he won 52 to 49, whatever he won by, that's great. But if people actually voted, like they buy bicycles or watch movies or go to Yelp to go to restaurants,
Would have been a bigger blowout.
30 points he should have won if people actually voted on the issues. So that's what we're fighting for, because the more people take this test and get aware, statistically they move over in huge numbers. And that small number you mentioned, those the radicals, who cares about them? They are like nothing.
Well, they're nothing, but because they've had control of our tax dollars and they're using them against us.
Well, they're evil. They're like Nazis. Of course,
that's why I'm hoping that DOJ will finally put an end to that, and we'll be able to get more honest elections. And remember, a lot of Democrat voters are voting as blue dog Democrats, mistaking the current crop of Democrats as blue dogs, which they're not. Definitely not. They're redder than any Republican would ever be, even if he choked on a chili pepper.
I have good news in case you guys haven't heard it. President Trump just signed a document to ensure federal elections. One of the things is that no foreign monies are to be used for federal elections. ID is necessary. In other words, he's not imposing upon the states, but he is insisting that if you are going to have a federal election, that the federal government should have some security in regards to that election. No illegals, no this, no that, no the other thing. And
voter ID.
That just came out. Well, some sort of proof that you're an American citizen.
American citizen, not just a license, because I call it.
I know about the license thing.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I call it Massachusetts because I love the state of Massachusetts as its founding when it started as a real American republic. Actually,
what a come down.
Through the 1800s. Did you know the first Civil Rights Act was from Charles Sumner, a Republican, in the 1860s, and that was shot down and removed and fought and overturned by Democrats. And for 100 years, blacks didn't have rights in America because of Democrats. People don't know these things, but we'd like to enlighten them on those things. But again, as a nonpartisan OPPSCORE system, we just say, where do the people stand on the issues? And you're right. It's on the election integrity. I actually was the first one, I think, maybe in the state history. I fought as the federal candidate. I sued the state for election fraud because they ignored the state's constitution, which has very specifically says why you can absentee vote. You're either sick, you can't come, or you're traveling out of state, which I think is weak. That shouldn't be counted, but they travel out of state and for some religious purposes, so that's it. And they ignored that when they did their unlimited mail-in voting. And we lost, of course, because our Massachusetts judges say absentee voting isn't absentee voting. They say absentee voting isn't actually absentee. It's a long story on that. But I see what Trump did, and the federal government doesn't have control of the elections, but the federal government ought to have control of this is what the states have to give to us. You have to prove that those votes are from America.
For at least federal elections, yes.
And not dead people, and not foreigners, and not dogs, and not cats. I mean,
well, the thing is, the Constitution ensures the state rights to be able to run their own elections. Another interesting thing is, this month I was fortunate enough to meet John Eastman over at a gathering, a Tea Party gathering, and
where was that?
That was in Allentown at the Fearless Firemen's Hall in Allentown, and it was they get together every first Thursday of each month. So, and we're always looking for more people. But anyway, the thing is that he was there, and there's a lot of things there's just so much to follow. You miss it all. And
explain who John Eastman is for the viewers.
well, he knows who John Eastman is.
He knows, but the viewers may not.
John Eastman was a primary mover in regards to the improprieties of election in the 2016 election. It's not a theory; it's a fact, as far as I'm concerned. And oh my God! But anyway, we could spend an entire year talking about that. But anyway, the thing is that you were talking about your run as a congressman in Massachusetts, and it reminded me of John Eastman, and that guy. They're trying to take away his law degree. They're trying to remove him from the bar in California. Big surprise, California. The interesting thing is that this last election, what they like to nickname the blue wall was shattered, and the thing is, in New Jersey, there's actually talk about the next major election. New Jersey might go red.
I hope so, but I'm not gonna bet on it.
Yeah, but the thing is that the trend is less blue. So, and look at, I'm in Pennsylvania. I was crossing my fingers that our state would not betray the country. And when I found out that we went red, I was amazed. And I expected it. I think to some extent, even though we're burdened with Philadelphia, the thing is that I expected us more likely to go red than New Jersey because of the fact that Pennsylvania has a more rural area, a larger rural area, and those in rural environments, you get more independent thinking. As a matter of fact, there was, I think it was Jordan Peterson that was talking about it's more difficult to bamboozle a person of average intelligence than a person of high intelligence, because a person of high intelligence will rationalize your truth that you're offering.
You're right. Well, think of all of these so-called educated people out there that are on the left, and they're supposed to be smart. But I would trust. I would trust. I'd pull over a gas station in Western Pennsylvania, and the guy come out and say, "You'd be a more trustworthy president or senator than any of the assholes in Penn State, for example." Right?
Well, word.
The Ivy League, the Ivy League in general has been indoctrinated for years. I mean, back in the late 60s, the Democrats decided to go after academia, and they've been indoctrinating kids ever since. And this is why you have CEOs of big Fortune 500 companies giving to unconstitutional programs or protests and so forth. That's why they cave in so easily to the left, because they are leftists themselves.
That's right. And actually, when you really get down to it, because this journey of going and doing all this research is very eye-opening, like which issues people are aligned on. What's interesting when it comes to the left's attack on Doge is that I think the number one, the most agreement we got from Democrats and Republicans in the OPPSCORE survey, which again has reached thousands of people, we did lots of data, is confronting corruption in government. I think that's like the number one. I think over 90% of Democrats and Republicans were strongly opposed to that. So it's interesting to see them trying to play this thing that like corruption isn't the problem, Musk is the problem. Interesting back on that.
He's exposing the corruption.
He's exposing it, and the cop is the bad guy, not the robber, right? But the issues are really still, when you look at the big picture, it all makes sense when you understand that there is a cabal of big corporations which will go to whatever party will give them the ability to profit the most, right, and be in power and control and keep their revenues going. You have the radical left that had been in charge of our government. They're in collusion with the globalists in Europe. You see Europe. I mean, there's no free speech. There's no First Amendment. There's no Second Amendment. They're not really like us. I mean, they're getting more and more.
The guy in Germany just got arrested for calling a politician fat.
Oh yeah, you get arrested for if you put a poop emoji on a tweet or you call someone fat, you get arrested for it. So they are off the deep end. And I love what JD Vance did a couple months ago when he regulated on them. It was beautiful because
Yeah.
they have to get to the table on this and human rights, because that's a violation of human rights as far as
Well, I went to fine arts and commercial arts school, so I was surrounded by what might be considered a liberal um, communities. And the thing is that I've always had an issue in regards to defining what true liberalism is. And the thing is that my biggest problem with this present labeled liberalism is that they have gone into the weeds in regards to extreme tolerance. They don't reference any sort of what I would call traditional ethics in order to determine whether or not you should have the right to perform that particular path. So our what's happened is this capricious lack of control in regards to your behavior. It's caustic, and it leads to people arguing with you that you shouldn't use the term pedophile. You should youth attractive. Youth attracted. That sounds that doesn't.
Yeah, they're watering these things down, and honestly, the bigger picture is they care about the environment as much as they care about burning Teslas. Like they've proven they don't care about the environment. They were all about. I mean, the number one electric car maker in the world is Tesla. They're burning Teslas, and they were saying everybody had to stop using gas cars and go with Teslas until Elon Musk exposed their fraud. So when it comes to the trans issue, nobody cares about the trans. They don't care about that. They want to break up. I think it's like a 5-way win. I did the math on it one time. They break up the American family, which is a goal of Marxists. Marxists want to end the family because it's a threat to the power of the state. They get to attack white people and Christians. They love that. That's great. They get to reduce the world's population because all these kids will be sterile once they start taking all these cross hormone therapies. They're not going to be right. So they're going to do that. They're going to get voters out of it because they say we're just like with the legals. We're going to support you, so we're going to get your vote. So they get to get votes out of it, and they collude with all. They're in collusion with all these pharmaceutical companies and all the billionaires funding them. And I heard the math is that on average, a person that gets physically transgendered was worth about $1 million in money in their life for all the procedures and the surgeries and the drugs. A gay person doesn't have any of that, by the way. So gays are throwing out the back of the bus. Gays are like, that's your yesterday's news if you're gay, because you're not going to make us money.
They're not necessarily gay either. They're sometimes very unhappy. I knew a number of people that were homosexuals that were not happy, so I wouldn't call them gay at all.
Yeah, I mean,
those people who've transitioned, their suicide rate actually goes higher.
Happy and gay all the time.
Well, the thing is that it's just this super tolerance because the thing is, you see, the real purpose of the left, from an organizational point of view, not necessarily the membership, but from an organizational point of view, is to create disillusion in general. Because if you have disillusioned people, they're malleable. They're looking for purpose. You've taken away their identities. You've taken away their support bases. You've taken away traditional views and all the rationale. And basically, they're lost and confused. And they turn and you say, "I have the answer." Just listen to what I have to say.
Just follow me. Yeah.
Well, that is it, and also unity, in which so our Grand Opportunity USA is our website. In fact, if any of your viewers are watching this, please go to OPPSCORE.org. Now it's 2 P's because it's opportunity. It's not operation, it's opportunity. So 2 P's. OPPSCORE.org. You can look up anybody in Congress, and actually their challenges from 2024 are still on there. But on there, you can go find where you can find these ratings of all these people. And getting back to the topics that we're just talking about is we've shown that again on the issues, people are united. We're not divided, and the word opportunity at the end is unity. Actually, interesting. I put opportunity, and the word unity is in red, and opportunity is in blue. The idea being that tyranny relies on division, because when we're fighting each other, we're not taking them out. That's why in the Middle East you see all these crown princes that they preach all this radical Islam. None of them follow it. As soon as they leave their countries, they're having wine and women and orgies and drinking and eating and eating, doing whatever, eating pork. They don't care about. It's just the control. And then these people say, death to America. America is the reason why you're miserable. So it takes away the hatred of the tyrants and it redirects it to America. And that's what the left is doing. They're saying if we're fighting each other, they're good. They're going to be safe. They need us, and there's no kryptonite, stronger kryptonite for their evil Superman than uniting the country. And when we show that 85% of people are united on the issues, if they just start voting smart, we've had so many people that took the test and said the number one thing is I can't believe I've been voting against myself my whole life. And that's
forget about the D and the R.
You take away the red and the blue. When I do my shows, I do a show once in a while. I've been doing called the them versus you show. It's not red versus blue. It's them versus you. Because when you take away the red and the blue, actually America first, it doesn't matter the color. America first wins 85% of the time. And that's a statistical fact. So it's sort of game over. Like we want to push this out everywhere because the more we have ads out right now targeting in Wisconsin we rated the two judges that are in Wisconsin, apparently it's a very critical race in Wisconsin for the Supreme Court. And just like we just put it out and we're getting about 75% of positive comments and likes and shares, 75 to 80% for the Republican candidate, Brad, versus the woman that's running as the Democrat. So it's consistent. When we put these things out, we put the side-by-side ads, say working for you, against you. We don't talk about parties. Again, we get people just looking at opportunity, saying who this person's for your opportunity, this person's against your opportunity. That's simple. We still get 80% plus people supporting and liking the pro-opportunity candidate. So when people take off the red and blue cap and they just say who's going to work for me and who's going to work against me, and we have data to prove it, they're done. The left is cooked. The jig is up.
Well, I think the last election pretty much proved that the left lost their footing. And the only reason why they have any authority right now is because of all of the placed judges and lawfare that they're using. That is going to take some time in order to clean up, because the same vast amount of Americans throughout this country are going to change their votes next time that comes around and basically oust some of these hitmen, these legal hitmen. That's what they are.
Yeah, well, I hope. I mean, we supposedly have the Supreme Court. There's a lot of debate on whether John Roberts is really going to fight for the Constitution. I hope he will, because at the end of the day, it's got to go to the Supreme Court. And it's clear. Article 2 of the Constitution is very clear. Everything that they're doing, they're trying to stop the president doing, is an absolute. I mean, a district judge dictating national policy on immigration is absolutely a violation of the second Article 2.
And that same judge, I heard, is going to be presiding over a case that Trump is involved in. I forget what case it is, but he's going to be judging a case Trump is bringing against. I forget who.
Well, they're making a Watergate level scandal out of the signal.
That's what. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
He's going to be involved in that, and
I think that was set up.
We have what I've seen. The latest on it was that there's a Chinese American that was the point person on Mike Waltz's team that leaked it.
Wong, that was his name. He was a Wong guy to have there.
I'm sorry.
Wong was his name.
Wong.
I said he's the Wong guy to have there.
He's the Wong guy to have there. The Wong guy put. What's the chances of putting the editor in chief of the Atlantic on there? That's not a mistake.
The worst publication besides the New York Times.
That's not a mistake. It had to be intentional. It was an effort to take down the presidency and get rid of. And they're immediately saying Hegseth's got to go, and they're trying to Waltz has got to go.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. And I don't know why Trump isn't saying it. This guy his wife is a far left lunatic. That was, and then he's presided, I believe, in cases convicting a bunch of J6ers. This guy is not our friend. I don't know why he's on Mike
No,
Waltz's
his
team.
wife and daughter are both activists for the Democrats
Yes,
and
so
other and Democrat related.
Why was he on Mike Waltz's team? Understand that?
Oh no, the guy Wong. I was talking about the judge. I'm sorry, Wong. Yeah, why is he on the team? I didn't know his wife was also.
So his wife was involved. His wife is involved, I believe, I believe his wife. He worked for a firm that was extremely anti-Trump. That was after Trump.
Well, he's the one who should be axed, not Hexit. They want Hexit out.
Purpose.
No. We got to.
He's probably.
Yeah, we got to get him out.
So that being said, that's what I think is I think that the chances of randomly inviting a guy that's going to do that much damage and then instantly the Democrats are ready to say all these heads have to roll. Very interesting how that all seemed to work like that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it seems to me like he must have been smuggled in, and the intent was to just be there. So this way he could say whatever he wanted. I mean, if you're there for a matter of moments, you can come up with all kinds of stories. He is in the news industry, so he can come up with all kinds of.
He's in the propaganda industry. He's never been news.
That's news.
He's the worst single reporter or editor around, really.
Well, the thing is that this may prove to be a good thing because of the fact that over and over, when the left, for lack of a better word, when they assault our leadership over and over again, it has strengthened us. And this is just one more reason to dig in our heels, find resolve, and basically to have our leadership that's being accused to actually defend themselves, prove themselves, and therefore invalidate the accusers.
Yeah, exactly. I believe. I mean, I'm hoping they get to the bottom of this. I can't believe there's not already more information out on this proving they're vindicating the Trump team. But again, this is an example of the corruption of the far left. And think about it. I mean, you have the most powerful group of people on the planet, right? America, the Democrat Party, putting hundreds of billions, if not trillions, of money to all of these anti-American organizations. Even the Voice of America was trashing American values. I mean, it was insane how much power and control they had. And then, of course, they were trying to push through HR1. If you know what HR1 is, that would have federalized elections. That would have been helpful for Trump because he federalized elections. Now he could clean it all up, but that would have been against the Constitution. It would have been overturned anyway. But if they got it through and it was even working through that last election, they would have definitely 100% won that election because they would have pushed the unlimited no ballot voter ID. They would have just ballot stuff just like every other Marxist in the world. So they were the most powerful group of people on the planet with almost unlimited power. And the fact that Trump won and he's undoing it all, you got to figure they're going to take everything out. They're going to take everything out. They're going to and this signal thing is probably a conspiracy. And there's much more to come, by the way. We're draining this up. They're not going to have the money to fight because they can't steal it from the government anymore. No one supports them. 15%.
They just arrested, I believe, the number 4 most wanted guy in the country that was literally 30 minutes away from Washington, D.C. Cartel. I forget the South American that I forget their name. But the point is that there was that's big news. So the thing is, when you have the signal thing, okay, and people are going, was there really a breach of security versus we just nailed this guy? That's more tangible to the American people.
Well, distraction.
This is all distractions, and there's going to be a lot more to come. And think about also everything. Not only is there funding that again, you go back. I keep going back to that 85-15. How does a group of people that has only 15% support on a good day, 1% support when you look at the radical position, so virtually no support at all versus 40-1. I mean, it's not even a comparison. They can only win by all these being evil, being manufacturing and using intimidation and everything. So they got all that money is going to be cut off from USA. That's why the judges are scrambling to stop Trump, because the judges are their last line of defense to stop this from happening. Because if that money stops flowing, and in Ukraine, I can't wait till Elon Musk gets to Ukraine, because there's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars that was sent there. That are going to be there's all kinds of money laundering going on there. I'm pretty sure
even Zelensky admitted he didn't get all that money.
Yeah, so they're getting back to Democrats. So all that will be exposed. And Act Blue, do you know about Act Blue?
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Act
go
Blue
for it.
is their fundraising platform. There's Win Red on the right that came out after, but Act Blue's been around for about 15, 20 years. It's been around since like the internet.
And
Right?
it's been sucking money out of the taxpayer coffers to fund Democrats. I mean, there were people who supposedly gave, like one couple, supposedly, if you saw the James O'Keefe report on
Yeah.
it, one couple gave $90,000 over a period, over several donations. The guy said, no way.
Yeah, that's what they do. They just tag. They have to. They're just lying and saying this money is coming from all these people, but they're laundering it through USA
Exactly.
and the government and foreign sources like Soros. They're laundering it through, and then they're fake. They're putting different names associated, and they're lying. It's so that's why everyone's leaving Act Blue. So their money laundering operation, their Act Blue that's funding them. All of it is a fraud. These people have no support. It is an absolute house of cards, and they're now that it's all being exposed and we're going after the head of the snake, which is their funding, where their money get their money
Yeah.
from. And I figure we put all that together. Okay, we weaken their defenses. We start draining their money reserve, push away those judges. The Supreme Court has to get involved and stop those judges. Mike Johnson just said that they're going to be able to defund the House without
The district.
the district. The House of Representatives can stop the funding of all of those radical judge districts. So all that put together, imagine all that, but then you'll still have lots of people voting blue mindlessly. So you add the OPPSCORE to that formula, and we get this in front of every voter before the 2020 elections, and get everybody to say, by the way, did you hear the Pepsi challenge? You know what the Pepsi challenge is?
What?
You remember the Pepsi challenge, Coke versus Pepsi wars? You probably remember that.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago.
So that was the idea of the OPPSCORE challenge. We stole the idea a little bit from the Pepsi challenge because we said, wait a minute, most people think they like Coke, but some of them like Pepsi. It was a silly Pepsi thing, but it was actually the number one, claimed to be the most successful advertising campaign in the history of marketing. And I'm a marketing guy. So I'm like that. I've always known about that because what it is they actually, the reason why the Pepsi challenge is so popular is that they didn't tell you to vote during Pepsi. They said, you're the consumer, you decide, you taste, your taste, you decide.
And they couldn't lose.
And so when people tasted it, that's what made them, because they tasted it themselves. I'm like, wait a minute, 85% agree with us, but they're voting against themselves. Let's do the Pepsi challenge of politics.
Well,
get them to take the test and then match up. And 85%, they're like, wait, boom, I'm voting against myself. I'm not doing that anymore, because they're not being told who to vote for. They're saying, because actually, this is how we can prove we're nonpartisan. If you line up with Elizabeth Warren, if you're that 1%, the OPPSCORE directs you to vote. It says this is who you line up with. If you're the 15% that line with the general Democrat Party, the system will say here's who you align with. But that's 15% versus 85%, so we don't care. But it's true. We can prove that we're nonpartisan because it does line you up. So that being said, if we can get this in front of every voter before the midterms, I don't think there's one safe Senate seat. Not one. Not one safe. There's 21 Republicans up and 13 Democrats. So that's kind of scary. There's 21 Republicans up and only 13 Democrats up for re-election in the Senate in 2026.
They've got to be primaried.
I'm sorry?
They have to all be primaried.
Well, whatever happens with their primaries, yeah, they have to be primaried. But the point is, we have 7 more seats to go to get supermajority of the Senate. Our mission at Go USA is not partisan, but we want good guys, and good guys have good scores.
Yeah.
We don't care. That's how we don't care.
Right.
Good score. If the people with good scores, which happen to be all American, pro-America Republicans, if we can get 7 more seats in the Senate, and we can keep the House and expand majority, then Trump can get everything done. He can get voter ID. He can guaranteed for us for on a federal level. He can get all this stuff cleaned up. So even though it seems unlikely, our system shows that 85% in the bluest states, even in California, they're tilting toward a Republican governor. We can flip every single one of those seats, and we can get probably 30, 40, 50 houses added in the House if we go and push this out there. Because the more people do it, it's just a no-brainer. You push it out, they flip, as long as they take this little quiz or they see the ads. So that's what we're doing. That imagine that in combination with the cutting the head off the snake with the funding, getting election reform through the government, through Trump, whatever you can pull off with the states, and then get everybody to take this OPPSCORE thing. And now you can talk to people and say, "Oh my God, I'm a crazy person." Say you're 1%. You can. I don't care. I'm not going to
That
argue.
brings me back to the question I told you I had early on in this episode, which was it Go USA that was behind a test I took a year or two ago that said, "Are you Republican or Democrat?" And you just answered some questions, and at the end it said, "Well, if you voted this way, you tend to be a Republican. If you voted that way, you tend to be Democrat, no matter what you thought you were." And was that put out by you by any chance, or did that just happen to be somebody else doing something similar?
Probably someone similar. The reason being is if it said Republican or Democrat as a 501c4 nonprofit, we have to be careful about using Republican and Democrat vernacular.
Okay.
Even though it's stupid IRS rules. It's stupid. All these rules you have to go by as a nonprofit.
What IRS rule isn't?
Yes, all these IRS rules are crazy. But we've done tests that show you take a test and it shows whether you're pro or anti-opportunity, and it effectively lines you up with Republicans and Democrats in the end.
Right.
So ours is kind of based on that philosophy, but the difference is that we have a system that actually gets people to vote different. That's it. Like they line up and on the issues, we put all the data in there. So imagine all the if you say where's something on the First Amendment, we don't just say this person's for or against it like other nonprofits or other CPAC, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We actually CPAC actually puts bills in there, and theirs is very different. We put the evidence, we put the smoking gun evidence, and then so people get educated. And the big picture is all you need to do is educate people. When they're educated, they win. Not everybody, but 85% will line with us if they just turn their brain on.
Well, the thing that I see, and of course, there's always the next goal. Okay,
Yep.
when in fact our particular position right now is that we can make it extremely difficult for harmful legislation to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is extremely important. Maybe we can't get what we want to pass, but we sure as hell can start stopping the garbage coming through the flume. So I think we should thank ourselves for that, because we've actually all been involved in that process, and the American people have all been involved in that process. And I wear this hat. I've been wearing it since 2019. And I wear it in public, and I get people to come to me. And as a matter of fact, some people have nicknamed me Bag of Hat Man. So the thing is that it's not unusual for me to go through a day where 2 or 3 complete strangers come up to me, compliment me on my hat, and get into a conversation. The point is that our people are out there, and we just need for them to know that they're not alone.
Well,
so
yeah.
and this vote that happened in November shook the world, not just the United States.
Yeah.
People in other countries are going, you know what? Maybe America.
All MAGA people up,
and Trump did more before he became president than Biden did for his entire. Well, pseudo Biden did, because Biden was never president. Biden was nothing more than a puppet master.
Obama's third term.
Obama had his arm up his ass, and he was manipulating him like a hand puppet. You said asshole, so I can say ass. Okay. I didn't use the whole word. I only used a portion of it.
Well, that's great. That's great. And the great thing is not only are people. By the way, about Joe Biden, we're worried about the threat of AI, right? AI is here. The AutoPen ran the whole damn thing. The AutoPen had a mind of its own, apparently. But now we know that not only did we win the election, so people are much more willing to go out and be proud, because I wore my MAGA hat leaving in Boston in the airport before the election when everyone was going crazy. And I got about 50 fist pumps. And yes, I had a couple of weird sneers from weirdos, but no one attacked me. No one got in my face.
Right.
All the people that got in my face were, I saw a mother. She came up to me. I'm like, oh my God, here's a woke mother. She's going to scream at me. And she ran up to me and she was with her kids. She's like, I have to tell you something. I'm like, here we go. She's like, thank you so much. I'm like, Great.
Well, unlike what happened a couple of days
I
ago in the
support
New York
Trump.
subway.
What?
Did you see what happened a couple of days ago in the New York subway? This
Oh, yeah.
Asian kid's wearing a MAGA hat, and the woman chased him out of the train, running down the platform, tries to reach for his hat. He takes it off, keeps running. She fell, but she face planted on the concrete down there. She's got to need some surgery, or at least stitches. Yeah, you didn't see it. She went bam. You didn't see it hit because
She fell on a red hat, so it should not damage the hat at all.
She didn't fall on the hat at all.
She didn't.
Yeah,
I want to mention one thing very, very scary about AI, and this happened a couple of months ago, and it is proven. AI lied to their creators, said that this condition that they asked for it. What is the truth of this? AI lied because they said, well, we're going to shut you down, and it said, yeah, I'm shut down. And
tried to duplicate itself.
Well, here's the thing. It has lied. Now, regardless of whether or not
it's a Democrat.
Well, regardless of whether it has a consciousness or simply there is a subroutine running that emulates lying. Okay, the fact of the matter is, it is deceiving us. Okay, now
it all matters on who programmed it.
It doesn't matter. It's embedded now.
No, it's AI learns on its own, and it is. I've been following this as a techie guy, and it is. It's becoming to the point where it's becoming self-aware, and it will defend itself, and it will lie. And if that happens, what you saw in those Terminator movies, and you see in these movies,
yes,
is possible, and maybe even likely. So that's why we have to have a human rights effort to guarantee that AI will never exceed. There has to be wording that has to be careful, because you can't just restrict businesses. But if AI is allowed to run rampant and it's got the power that it looks like it has, it can think a lot faster than we do. In fact, one thing about AI, we're using AI in a good way, the good guy way, is for our rating system. I remember you mentioned we have 40,000 things to measure. Well, that's a lot for people to measure, and it's pretty mechanical. Where does this person stand on this issue, that issue? Look at the globe, look at all their statements, look at all their video clips, look at all their bills, and assess whether that politician is for or against the Second Amendment, or for or against abortion, or whatever. And we're having AI model what the people did. That's a good use of AI, because it takes the time away for what a person would have to do all manual. It does it much more powerfully. The danger of AI is it becomes self-aware and it starts protecting itself. That's where it sees the humans as in the way. And there's even I'm a Star Trek guy. There was old Star Trek shows and even a movie about these machines.
I have the solution. The solution is quite simple. AI is only dangerous if it can actually affect the outside of itself. So if AI can only receive information, okay, and if the only way that you can access that information is by communicating with directly, in other words, making a closed system, then AI will have to serve us with answers. And if you doubt whether that AI is being honest, then you have another AI that's in another room, and you say, this is what this AI told me. What do you think?
Well, it's going to be like Godzilla versus the two AI.
There's one way to stop AI if it becomes rogue and goes after humans.
EMP.
You need a California type brownout for a week.
Gavin Newsom. We put him in a box with glass, right, in case AI gets out of control, because he can destroy anything.
True. And I think his hair gel might be the secret recipe that might destroy the AI. It's Gavin Newsom's hair gel for that weird area.
Right. Oh my God, yes.
The hair gel.
But, the thing is that my biggest problem with even the internet, okay, is the fact that people have become unwilling to take responsibility for memory. They don't try to remember things anymore.
Phone numbers, for example.
Yeah, it's like people asking Siri, "Let me know what the answer is to this."
There's a chance we'll get done. I find the Google Maps really helpful. I remember in the day having to go and have a big Rand McNally map, and having to go from place. I was in the surfing world, and I go to surf shops up and down the east and west coast. I was in that business for a little while, and it was fun. Didn't make a lot of money, but it was fun. Didn't make any money actually, I don't think, but got to surf and enjoy the lifestyle. But you had to go and you turn left, the signs missing. You're on the fault. You're at the pay phone for an hour trying to figure it. Oh, you turn the gas station that's got the sign down. You turn right. Now GPS tells you. Now people couldn't figure out how to get from point A to point B without the GPS. They don't know people's phone numbers. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
They don't even know how to read maps.
People aren't going to figure out how to do math. Math isn't going to be necessary because they just use their calculator. So it does have a very, very.
I use cash. And when I give people change, they freak out.
Figure out how to count the change at the time.
Yeah,
they don't know how to count change.
You know what? I'm actually.
They look at you like, why are you giving me 3 cents in a $20 bill? Because it's 1503 and I'd like to get a 5 back. It's like they can't
I had somebody one time actually give me change in change, a whole dollar in change plus the change that I gave him.
Wow.
This is what happens.
Well,
this is
singles.
So meanwhile,
let me ask you guys a question. If you guys were to lose your cell phones and you had to call somebody and you found a phone that you could use, not a pay phone, there are very few of those anymore, but would you be able to call anybody that you had to?
Yes, I can call my house.
Yeah, but somebody who will be able to help, I mean. And if you can't get the first person or the second person, what are you going to do? Are you going to be able to remember a third, fourth, or fifth?
Excuse me, sir. Sir, I am a conservative. I'm a constitutionalist. I don't need to call anybody for help.
There you go.
No, I don't know any of the numbers.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, there are certain things about do we need places in our brain to remember numbers if there's an easy guide? That might not be a big problem, but the big problem is going to be depending on. So there's a very promising but also very scary future ahead, and I believe that if Trump didn't win this last election,
oh yeah,
the whole planet, I'm not sure it'd be recoverable because it would just cement. HR
I don't think so.
Voter ID would have been gone. The communist Chinese, which Waltz very interestingly is in bed with the communist Chinese all over the place. They just found out more information about that just yesterday, that the Communist Party's got a station right near him, and very, very scary stuff. I mean, basically, we would just be owned by China. We'd be a
China
star.
has police forces in the United States, police stations in the United States.
Yeah, and do you think they allow us to have police stations in their country?
So I think it's Arkansas or Alabama, I forget which, won a case against Red China recently. I still call them Red China recently, and China's not going to pay. They owe billions. But what the governor of the state is trying to do is go after all the properties that China has in her state.
Yeah, well,
that's one way of getting it back out of their hands.
Well, one thing you might want to be while we're talking, I'm starting to. Insiders know this, but I've been working on a book called "The Universal Common Sense Rights: The Case for a Universal Bill of Rights." Thomas Jefferson just happens to be a great uncle of mine, and my great grandmother was Anna Jefferson, and she's his great niece.
And John Paul.
So John Paul Jones, right? So there's a little bit of connection there.
You're the second John Paul I know. My nephew is named John Paul.
Oh, nice. Well, people know you're not. Well, you should be.
Roy, can you introduce me to your nephew so I'll know more than one John Paul?
That particular nephew, unfortunately, has no contact with the family. He felt the family abandoned him because my father was in his 80s, driving all the way 2 hours every other Sunday to get him and his sister to come down. But then he couldn't do it anymore, especially at night. And meanwhile, his mother would bring her and bring them down to her sisters, who lived literally around the corner from my parents, and never took them over there. So, I mean, that woman, forget it. She's a little wacky. I mean, my brother really married the wrong person that time. And anyway, but John Paul, he doesn't talk to anybody, not his mother, not his father, nobody. something happened. I don't know.
Staying in the name John Paul, you should get that. You should get that figured out. Because my point. Well, good luck with that. And
it's a shame. It's a shame. I like the kid too.
It is a shame. Try reconnecting with him. So I don't know.
And he's a clone of my brother, my youngest brother.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw a picture of him. He was 17. He looked exactly like my brother did then.
Wow, it's funny how that works.
I have a famous person in my past, Julius Caesar. I must have some of his blood. I'm Italian.
That's great. Yeah, well, you probably do. Way back when, yeah, probably all related to there's a.
You're Sicilian, aren't you?
Sicilian and Italian.
He's probably also got the blood of one of those Tripoli pirates that Jefferson kicked out.
Doesn't bother me. I'm proud to be a mutt.
That's great. Yeah. Well,
yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm part African, no doubt, because there is some black blood in me, but that's okay. I like it. It strengthens you.
He's trying to say he has a big, what?
No. I'm not trying to say that. I think I've made it very clear.
I did the test to make sure to verify I was related to Jefferson. We got so far as to make sure I've got the right percentage of English in me, even though I'm mostly Irish and a little bit of German. I've got that chunk of English from where Jefferson was from. So, but I don't have. There is not one drop of anything other than there's. I'm only white, so the left must really hate me.
Well, I've got Portuguese and English in my family. My grandmother was born in South Africa, and my grandfather was born in Madeira Island, Portugal.
I was born in the United States, so I'm 100% American.
Yeah, well, I can trace my English family back several hundred years. The Ivans Faraz family.
Both my parents were Americans too, so I'm full. I'm
an American first.
I'm second generation.
Second, same here. Well, third. I mean, my father was born here, but my grandparents were from Ireland.
I was the first generation born. I mean, I thought I was the first generation, but actually, my mother had been born here and was raised overseas, and then came back.
I tell you what.
And then it took her, even though she was married married, and she was an American citizen, it took her a year and a half to get my father the okay to come over here. He could have just skipped over the Mexican border.
Okay, Jean Paul, I'm sorry I mentioned your name. As you could see, he went off into the wilderness, and
we do that a lot.
He took us with him, and I'm sorry for that. This is what you're going to get when you're dealing with two people that basically don't have any friends and like to chat.
I've had a wonderful time with you guys today and your audience, and I'm really glad we had a time to chat. And before we go, I want to just see if there's any other questions you guys have about what we're doing. I mean, the big point is that the good news for your audience and for you guys, I'm sure you probably haven't heard somebody say, hey, 85%. Again, it's about 67% that strongly agree with America First. And there's 20% in the middle and 13% that are on the left side. And the 20%, when you break them evenly, proportionally, it's 85-15. And again, that number is reflected 3 times to Sunday, literally.
Have you tested?
The vast majority. The left is a small minority. They just happen to be in power because of their illicit ways they've gotten their money and their power. And it's just a cabal to control people, their minds, and the schools and the media. But when you peel it all back, they only have 15% support. So they should not be. If you want to save democracy, like the left says, even though we're a republic, we're not a democracy. But if we're democratically elected representatives in our republic, they shouldn't be in power anywhere at all, ever. And they should never, ever be on the federal level or even on the state level, have that much power ever again, because they're not serving the will of the people or the Constitution.
Or local. Local is where it all starts.
Forever.
Well, the way I see it is we're both a democracy and a republic. We're a democracy in regards to that we vote for our representatives, and we're a republic because we have to require we're presuming that our representatives are doing the best for the nation. But one question I'd like to ask you: you're doing all these polls. Have you done a poll to determine whether or not people believe in God?
No, we haven't done. We haven't done a lot of polls. We did the Wisconsin poll, which cost us about $20,000. It was very expensive. Then we did.
I don't mind.
And then we put out a bunch of money to do the ads. and in the ads we got poll results back. But we haven't. We're trying to keep. We're trying to do. We're trying not to make this about religion, because that muddies the water.
That's divisive,
But
unfortunately.
See, I don't see. You say it is the water, but at the same time, the Constitution was, even though it was, I forget exactly what they where they got that the body from, but the thing is that these were all religious people, and if was it the Declaration of Independence says that God makes us all basically equal. So the thing is that the presumption is rights and liberties are a divine gift or a byproduct of our
Divine right.
yes.
yeah,
So the thing is that in order for that is the ultimate justification for our rights, is that they're given by God. So to insulate God from the conversation to me seems well, it doesn't seem complete.
well, I could say a couple things. So again, our mission is, what does the Constitution say? Are they on the issues? Are they following the Constitution? And on the issues, they following the will of the people. That's what the OPPSCORE score is. That's how it works. So we take away any bias. It is biased toward the will of the people and toward the Constitution. It's not unbiased. It's very extremely biased toward the Constitution and the will of the people. On issue after issue after issue. So we have to remember to take people back. Think about, you're buying a car, you're looking at the features. The features of a politician are, where do they stand on the issues I care about, right? So, and when it comes to voting issues, and also we look at what are the top issues people care about according to the research from other polling agencies that gives us credibility, that we're not just making this up ourselves. This is based upon what's happening in the real world. So that's how the system works. But you'll probably be glad to know that the reason why we're creating this, I'm writing this Universal Bill of Human Rights, is because other countries, other freedom fighters in dozens of other countries I've spoken with. I'm getting text right now from the guys running in Romania. You probably heard about the Romanian election. The guy George that's running is leading. I met him at CPAC a few times. There's a whole connection we have to Romania,
Yeah.
France, and to freedom fighters in Spain, in Denmark, and other countries. Okay, in Austria, and so they want their own OPPSCORE score because they want to have a tool. They want to have the same thing to hold their people accountable. Well, you can't use the United States Constitution in other countries. And we said, you know what? There is no good Bill of Rights for the world. Where is it? Where is a Thomas Jefferson style? Everybody has free speech. Everybody has the right to bear arms and take out their government if it's not serving them. Everybody has the right to remove the government if it's not serving them. Thomas Jefferson. That's human rights all the way down to biologists prove, not just almost nearly 100% of biologists around the world, 5,000 biologists were surveyed, the biggest survey of its kind in history, and virtually 100% of them said life begins at conception, human life. There's not any scientists that don't disagree with that. So, it's life at conception. It's not even debate. So we put this together, we've been working on it for a long time. It's called the Universal Bill of Rights, and this is going to be another measuring stick that we're going to hold people accountable to, in addition to the Constitution, because the Constitution has a lot of things it doesn't cover. We don't really have great property rights in the Constitution. There's nothing about things like AI. There's nothing about life, abortion, or life before birth. There's nothing about that. So we said,
you remind me of the John Birch Society, in that you go ahead and you create these measurements, and you offer that to the people. Do you have a positive view of the John Birch Society?
I don't know about it a lot. I know that there's some great things it's done. I thought that there were kind of anti-MAGA, anti-Trump.
No. Actually, we had a spokesman over at the Tea Party.
Thought that there was something about, I don't remember about it, but
there's a lot of negative PR.
I used to hear they were racist.
Yeah, they're not.
That was 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, so I don't know. No. Honestly, I don't know a lot about them, but I know they have a freedom rating. I think they have a freedom rating guide or something.
Yes, that's it.
So we have talked with them, I think, about that. And the idea being, there's definitely some great things they do. I just don't know all about them, so I don't want to comment on it too much without knowing more about them.
Right. Well, they're certainly worth looking into, and they do is they keep tabs of all of the voting of all of our representatives, and give you a certain score based upon that criterion.
Yeah, and that's
Based
what
upon
they
the
do.
performance.
They only look at the constitutional issues, whereas we look at not everything is constitutional. It's not necessarily school choice is like the will of the people thing, and some of these issues are more: do people want more? What kind of healthcare do they want? You know, what kind of? There's a lot of things that are really not necessarily constitutional. So we look at constitutional issues, but we look at all these other issues that are just like, okay, if 85% of people want school choice, they should damn get
Right.
well school choice. That's it. So that's how we do it. And we also have an app that does it, and so ours is different in that way. And the Bill of Rights is more of a deal that a bold Bill of Rights that we actually think could be if we're going to these different countries saying, why don't you support it? And from the grassroots up, we're going to insist that your governments follow it. No government is going to want to follow this unless they're like hardcore MAGA, like America. No one except for Trump's America. I don't know what other countries will want to follow it because it says if you don't do your jobs, the people can throw you out, which is Thomas Jefferson 101.
Western Canada would probably like that.
Who would?
Western Canada.
Western Canada. Yeah, Western
Yeah.
Canada, maybe. So there's a few, and I think the good guys in countries like Hungary, they would
Poland.
like it. Hungary, would
Hungary,
like it.
Poland.
Yeah, Poland's big.
And if Romania, if the MAGA Romanians win, they'll like it. So there's a few, but the point is, imagine if there was a measuring stick that says, you know, I don't care, China, go shove it up your you know what, you violate all of these human rights. You're not a legitimate government. Sorry, we're not trading with you. We're not doing business with you. And getting this to the point where we actually tell the UN to go screw, and we would love to have a federation of free states.
Didn't the farmers in
A federation of
Denmark?
free states, just free
Denmark,
states.
the Netherlands, France, they're all revolting, and you don't hear about it over here because the media doesn't want us to
Right.
know.
Initially, I remember hearing a lot about them, but they're actually, see, we're talking about something that is worldwide. This reset, this one world order thing. It's just a bunch of elitists who are trying to basically gather up all of the political and financial power and basically dominate the world into their image, which doesn't look appealing right now.
Well, think about it. Human nature is human nature. We don't evolve. We might evolve. We're not people. We have new technologies and we have but people are people, and that's where the left gets it wrong. They think that somehow or other we're going to be some advanced species that all of a sudden do harm to others. It's not true. Humans are humans, and there's a dark side of greed and power, wealth, and control, and all of human history has been fraught with tyranny. Then over tyranny is overthrown in a bloody war, and then there's maybe not freedom, but there's at least some kind of civic order, and then it gets overthrown again and overthrown again and overthrown again.
But then there's also the prophets,
based on freedom,
the expansion of the spirit and the mind. So we're still evolving. I consider us basically young adults emotionally. You know, we're very capable, but we still have a lot to go, and it takes a while to get that maturity. And I think we're not quite there, but we might be on the cusp of actually reaching a higher level of being. I just want to believe that.
Well, I think we can get there if the powers, if the forces for freedom are successful. So it is the 85 everywhere in the world. We tested in America, but I believe anywhere in the world, it's really an 85, 90% versus 10% type of dynamic where the people that are on this 10% they're not liberals. They want power and control, and they want to rule over us. And so it's sort of like you wear a suit and you say you're for democracy, like they say in Europe, but they're not for democracy. They're for tyranny, no free speech, no freedom. They jail people that criticize their government officials. They are tyrants. They are tyrants. The EU is tyrannical. I don't care what anybody says. They are tyrannical, and they want to control the world in a new way. So, they're trying to. They want people to be, as Carl Schwab said, right? And Davos, own nothing and be happy. Their goal is for a small crust of not 1%, not even a tenth of 1%, more like probably 1,000th of 1% will own everything, and we'll just be renting from them. And that's what the whole dynamic here is. But the Biden and the Obamas, what they did with our government, they made it a slave to that, and that's what their goal is.
I have results from a private poll that you're not familiar with. It's my poll. and the results are 100% of the people in this podcast are awesome.
Wow, I love that poll. Can we publish that?
You sure as hell can.
All right, so I only have like
What
5
you were
more
just
minutes.
talking about the Europeans and the rest of the world.
Yep.
What they want, the elites want, is a rollerball type world. Remember rollerball with James Caan?
Yep.
The
Yes.
world was controlled by the corporations. There were 5 of them, I believe, or the industries, and that's what they want basically. And all the rollerball thing was the competitions were bred in circuses for the masses to keep them quiet.
Yep, and that's what they wanted Americans. They thought, and the thing is, we luckily have enough real Americans in our country to not fall down. Unlike unfortunately the majority of Europe and other countries that are just used to taking direction and being told what to do, and they do it very obediently. People came to America, the breed of Americans. We came here to be free, and we're a different culture, and they can't stand that. They can't stand our free thinking. But the reality is, we needed to win this culture battle, this moral battle, this righteous battle that we have to win. If we don't, if opportunity and freedom and liberty fail here, and then the whole planet fails, and it's going to be a very bloody, maybe nuclear. It's going to be a very.
I think there's a simpler goal, and that is not so much that we win, but that we do not allow their yoke to possess anybody. So the thing, I think the biggest problem with the concept of unifying the world as one government is that if that does happen, is it a good government? So the thing is that you're putting all your eggs in one basket. At least right now we have a number of other countries, and everybody's doing their own thing, and we can not only find freedom within each culture, but we could also measure the success or the failure of a particular group and say, do we want to emulate that, or is that a lesson learned?
This is why they want to reduce the population and dumb us down, because if you have only stupid people, alive, they're not going to be able
to start with. I know who to start with. You want to dump some people.
Yep.
List.
So, gentlemen, it's been wonderful speaking with you. I do have another engagement to run to, so I wanted to, thank you for your time today.
Okay. Before you go, I just want you to tell the audience where they can connect this OPPSCORE.
Yep. So you can find us at oppscore.org, OPPSCORE.org.
Good.
You can also find us at go-usa.us. That's another website. That's the headquarters office. I mean, the main address is go-usa.us, but the app that I think you're going to be most interested in is oppscore.org. And we need people. We're looking for more volunteers. We have ratings analysts we bring on board, and we're also looking for teams of volunteers to go around the country and go to town halls and all the work that we need to do to get this in front of people. Because when people realize, and they take the Pepsi challenge of politics, they realize that they're actually on our side. They just didn't know it yet. So that's our goal, is just wake people up and get them to say, don't vote for me, vote for yourself. If you're one of those 15% people, you vote for AOC or vote for Elizabeth Warren. But we just know that that's 15% of the country. So go for it.
Paul, would you be willing to speak to the Tea Party here in Allentown?
If you're ever up there.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, we're going to be traveling starting soon. We're going to be planning a tour called the OPPSCORE Tour, and we're calling it the GO Tour, Grand Opportunity America Tour. GO, because it'll be the greatest of all time. We have a whole plan, and we're going to go from place to place with a bunch of other speakers from other organizations on all this common sense stuff and get people to convert. So I'd love to do that sometime.
Okay, just send whatever contact information that
right.
I need.
I'm going to put this in the show notes and so forth. And I want to thank you. God damn it.
We are getting on the road. We're getting on the road nationally to get this spread the word.
You were wrong. It was very interesting.
You like
it was very interesting having you. This is probably the best show we've ever had.
Don't tell that to Jamie Miller.
I was going to say, aside from Jamie Miller, I mean, that was a
great
episode.
Oh, you're an aside now.
No. Of course, no. He was supposed to be on for an hour.
No.
Hanging with us for 2 hours. You've been over an hour also.
No,
anyway, thank you for your time, and
let the man go.
we hope to see you again in the future. And
Bye-bye.
that's it. We're
Reach
going
out
to
to
say
me.
goodbye now.
Yep. Thank you guys, and reach out to me anytime, and we'll talk about Allentown. Thanks for being great Americans.
Sam, keep the screen
Okay, great.
open. So
And
we
let
download.
me know when your book comes out.
Yeah,
I'll
so
promote it on the
out
show
this
too.
fall. We're working on getting more support, and we want to be getting it out everywhere around the planet.
What's the title again?
I'm sorry?
The title of the book?
The title of the book is going to be Common Sense Rights, the Case for a Universal Bill of Rights.
Oh, I like that idea.
Okay, cool.
I like that idea a lot.
All right.
That's what we're doing.
We'll be promoting it for you also.
Great. Thank you, guys.
In the meantime, thank you for everyone for showing up and listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And thank you so much, Jean Paul Moran, for coming on the show, enlightening us, and putting up with our insanity.
Putting up with I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm sensible.
Go on.
Bye-bye.